Okay, so let's start with a question that I think, it haunts every single office, every classroom, and definitely every Zoom call we've all been on. Can work really be play? And I don't just mean like a whistle while you work kind of thing, or, God forbid, a forced fun corporate retreat.
Please, no more trust falls. I can't.
Exactly. No. I mean, can the rigorous kind of brain melting process of solving a really complex problem, what we call design thinking, can that actually coexist with the chaos and the fun of a video game?
Or do they just cancel each other out?
Right. Are they matter and antimatter? You touch them together and the whole thing just whoosh
And
explodes
it's the ultimate corporate dream, isn't it? Gamification. We hear that word all the time.
all the time.
But usually, let's be honest, it just ends up being a leaderboard for who sent the most emails.
Or who did their compliance training the fastest? It's so surface level.
Totally. It's just points and badges slapped on top of, well, drudgery.
But today we're looking at something much, much deeper. We're diving into this fascinating paper. It's called Serious Games and Design Thinking, a Possible Combination by Quentin Alvarez and his colleagues.
And the answer they found is, though it's complicated.
It is complicated, but it's also incredibly revealing about how our brains work under pressure.
Yeah. Because these researchers, they didn't just theorize about it, they actually ran experiments. One that failed miserably, like people getting angry, shouting at each other, failed.
Oh,
And
wow.
one that succeeded brilliantly.
And that contrast is what makes this whole thing so interesting. To understand it, though, we have to agree on our terms. Because design thinking and serious games, they get thrown around a lot.
They're total buzzwords.
Right, but the paper uses very specific definitions. So
Yeah.
let's unpack that. What are we actually talking about here?
Okay, let's start with design thinking. So in the context of this paper, it's not just, sitting around with sticky notes and brainstorming.
It's not just being creative.
No, not at all. It's defined as a structured, iterative process. It involves a multidisciplinary group, so people with different skills, all trying to solve a problem by focusing really strictly on user needs.
Okay.
It's about using collective intelligence to prototype and test and then refine. It's a high-level cognitive thing. You need empathy. You need to define the problem, ideate, test.
So that's the work part, the serious part. Then you have serious games.
Correct. And these aren't, the games you play to escape on a Friday night. The primary purpose is utilitarian.
Utilitarian.
Yeah, the goal is learning or training or changing behavior.
Yeah.
The game is basically a Trojan horse for a lesson.
So the mission for this deep dive is to see what happens when you smash these two worlds together. Can you actually gamify the act of innovation itself?
Exactly. And that brings us to the first experiment. We have to go back a bit to 2008, to Orange Labs.
And a game with the absolutely incredible name, Flee the Skip.
It really does sound like a punk band, doesn't it?
It totally does. But for our listeners, a skip is basically a dumpster, a big industrial one.
So the setting is this high-tech, secure dumpster. And the avatars, they aren't even people. They're anthropomorphized mobile phones.
It's so weird, but stay with us. It's a Flash-based platformer game.
Right. It's 2008. Flash was king. And the idea is that these 4 mobile phones, they each represent a different risk of social exclusion.
And the character design is just crucial to why this whole thing went off the rails. There are 4 of them, and each one has a specific strength and, like, a crippling weakness.
First up, you have Brain. He's a smartphone, get it. But he can't jump very high. He's physically limited, but he resists attacks.
Okay, then there's Shortcut. Super fast, but his battery dies almost immediately. A huge resource constraint.
Then you have Clap, and Clap has a limit on how many characters he can type in the chat.
A communication barrier.
Exactly. But he's good at deciphering codes. And finally, Hack. He can cross electric barriers, but, and this is a great mechanic, he transmits viruses to the other players if he gets too close.
He's a walking biohazard. So you've got these 4 misfits thrown in the trash, and they have 20 minutes to escape before a crushing machine activates.
The stakes are high.
For sure. And here is where the design thinking theory comes in. The game was built so that you absolutely cannot win alone. It is impossible to solo this thing.
You have to collaborate. You have to understand, to empathize with the other player's handicaps to solve the puzzles.
On paper, it sounds perfect, a team-building exercise in a video game. They thought this would generate solidarity, co-construction of solutions.
But reality hit hard.
It did not work.
No, it largely failed. Instead of solidarity, they got frustration. Instead of co-construction,
Yeah.
they got just irritation.
There was this one quote from a participant that really stuck with me. He just said, "A dead weight drags everyone down."
Ouch. I mean, that is the literal opposite of solidarity. That's just resentment.
Right. And the feedback showed this really interesting divide. The men tended to complain about the mechanics, the lag, the noobs, the people who couldn't play.
They focused on the tool.
Yes. And the women were more likely to get the message of solidarity. They understood what the game wanted them to do, but they still couldn't actually do it.
And this is where we get to the core analysis of why it failed. The paper calls it superposition. This is a key term for this deep dive, so we should flag it.
Superposition. Okay, so what does that mean? It's not like quantum physics, is it?
Sort of, but in a cognitive sense. It means piling everything on top of each other at the exact same time.
Ah,
In Flee the Skip, players had to figure out the strategy, that's the design thinking part, while they were simultaneously trying to jump over obstacles and dodge the crusher.
so they were trying to have a deep, empathetic strategy meeting while literally running for their lives.
Precisely. And that leads to this massive cognitive overload.
Hmm.
You have temporal stress from that 20-minute timer, and then you have the skill gap. Some people just aren't gamers. They struggled with the sensory motor side of
The
things.
sensory motor side, that's a very polite academic way of saying they couldn't use the arrow keys to save their life.
It is, but it's a valid barrier. If you're struggling just to make your character move left without falling into a pit, you have zero brain power left for high-level design thinking.
You're not empathizing with hack, you're just trying not to die.
Your working memory is maxed out, and that leads to what the researchers saw. Instead of collaboration, you got directive behavior. The experienced gamers just started bossing everyone else around.
You go there! No, don't jump! Stop moving!
Exactly. Which, of course, kills the fun. And if the fun vanishes, the game part is gone. You're just doing a stressful task. The design thinking attitude requires this calmness and openness that the game just completely destroyed.
So, Flee the Skip was a case of superposition, trying to do too much at once, a noble failure.
Thought of failures.
So now let's fast forward. It's almost a decade later, 2017. The researchers try again, but this time they change everything.
This is the move from superposition to apposition.
And they move from a high-tech dumpster to a kitchen with a game called Overcooked.
Which, if you've ever played it, is arguably more stressful than a crushing machine.
Oh, absolutely. My partner and I have almost broken up over Overcooked. It is a relationship ender.
It's pure chaos.
Yeah.
You have to chop onions, boil soup, wash dishes, serve customers,
Right.
all under a tight time limit. But the kitchens are insane. They move, things catch fire, rats steal your food.
Now, there's an important distinction here. Flee the Skip was a custom-built game. Overcooked is a commercial game you can buy right now.
Right. The paper calls this serious gaming rather than a serious game. They are diverting an entertainment product for a learning purpose. They took a toy and made it a tool.
Got it. So they take this chaotic cooking game, but they didn't just throw people in a room and say, go.
No, because they learned their lesson. They structured it differently. This is the apposition part.
Apposition.
Yeah, placing things side by side. So instead of doing the thinking and the doing at the same time, they separated them into these distinct phases, a rhythm.
Walk us through that cycle.
Okay, it starts with phase one, the game. They play level 1-1 of Overcooked. It's 2.5 minutes. Short, sharp, chaotic. They just play.
Then, hard stop, controllers down.
Stop. Phase two is the design thinking phase. They physically step away. They debrief. What went wrong? Why was the soup cold? They use that collective intelligence to build a better strategy.
Okay. And then?
Phase three, experimentation. They go back and test the new strategy. And they did this for 3 full iterations. Play, reflect, replay.
But there was one other massive change. A secret weapon. The manager.
This, for me, is the most fascinating innovation in the whole study. The game supports 4 players. They put 5 people on a team.
So the 5th person is just watching.
The 5th person is the manager, and crucially, the manager does not hold a controller.
They aren't playing.
They are not manipulating an avatar. They are strictly an observer. And because they aren't stressed about pressing the chop button, their brain is free. They can see the whole system. They track time. They spot the bottlenecks that the players can't see.
That makes so much sense. In Flee the Skip, everyone was drowning. Here, you have one person on the shore able to see everything clearly.
Exactly. The manager facilitates that strategy session. They have the distance needed to analyze. The paper uses the word conscientization.
That's a heavy word.
It is, but it's key. It means moving from unconscious action to conscious understanding. It's hard to be aware of your strategy when you're panicking. The manager bridges that gap.
The researchers also introduced a rule that I think is hilarious. They called it industrial espionage,
Yes, they allowed teams to walk around and watch other teams play.
which is usually just called cheating.
But here it's benchmarking, it's open innovation. If Team A sees Team B has a great assembly line for the soup, they can just steal the idea.
Yeah.
Or just as important, they can see Team C failing and say, okay, let's not do that.
So what were the results of this apposition method?
Night and day. Scores improved consistently with each iteration. The participants actually felt they learned about management and teamwork, and, most importantly,
They had fun.
they had fun. The fun stayed because the frustration was managed. When they were talking, they were just talking. When they were cooking, they were just cooking.
It seems so simple in hindsight, but it really proves that theory. Flee the Skip tried to superpose action and reflection, and it just collapsed. The overcooked experiment, they called it la soupe à l'oignon, placed them side by side.
It creates that feedback loop. Experience, then distance, then hypothesize, then experiment. It's basically the scientific method.
I want to go back to the manager for a second. By removing the motor skill requirement for the leader, the group could access that higher level thinking without the stress of the joystick.
Stress of the joystick. I love that phrase. It reminds us that even digital tools have physical barriers. If you aren't good with a controller, you can feel like, well, like that dead weight from the first study.
And gaming literacy is a real thing, right? The paper mentioned that non-gamers struggled with gaming grammar.
Yes, gaming grammar. Knowing a red bar is health, or what a heads-up display is. If you don't speak that language, you're lost.
So the overcooked model solves that by letting the non-gamer be the manager.
Potentially, yeah.
Mm.
Or at least the manager role allows someone to contribute intellectually without needing the reflex speed. You can be the smartest strategist in the room,
Right.
even if you have terrible thumbs.
So is this just about cooking onions? The paper mentions a few broader examples, right?
No, it's definitely broader. It's about the structure of learning. They mentioned a project from 2013 about modding for nonviolence.
Right, with the war games.
Yes. They had students take aggressive shooters and mod them to promote nonviolence. So the design thinking happened during the creation phase. It created a cognitive conflict. How do we use a war engine to make peace?
You're fighting the medium itself.
Exactly. And then there's a more recent example from 2023 called Play the City. They used Minecraft in Luxembourg.
Of course they did. Minecraft is the Lego of the digital age.
It is. But here, they used it to redesign a city square. Young people co-created the space. But then, and this is the cool part, they use AI, Midjourney, to visualize those blocky creations as photorealistic images.
That is so cool. So the game becomes a canvas for design thinking, not a reflex test.
Exactly. It's a prototyping tool. It's co-creation, not co-survival.
Okay, so if we pull all of this together, what's the big takeaway? For someone listening who wants to use games for training, what do they need to know?
So what here is that structure is everything. You can combine work and play, but you have to respect cognitive limits. The golden rule is, don't force people to reflect deeply while they're fighting for digital survival.
Separate the doing from the thinking.
Yes, apposition over superposition. Give people space to fail, then space to talk about it, then space to try again.
And that industrial espionage point, watching someone else fail is sometimes more valuable than failing yourself.
It lets you get distance. When you play, you have tunnel vision. When you watch, you're in the third person. You see patterns you miss when you're in the hot seat.
And we have to acknowledge skill gaps. You can't just throw a controller at someone and expect them to have a profound leadership epiphany.
No, you'll just make them feel incompetent. That's why the manager role is genius. It separates strategic competence from execution competence.
The researchers end by saying, we need a taxonomy, a classification system for all this.
We do. We have serious games, serious gaming, gamification. It's a jungle of terms. We need to know which structures work for which goals. Overcooked works for management. Minecraft works for co-creation. Flee the Skip. Well, it taught us what not to do.
A noble sacrifice for science.
Indeed. Sometimes you have to build the dumpster fire to know how to put it out.
So here's my final thought for you listening. Next time you run a meeting, think about the overcooked model. Usually the person running the meeting is also trying to take notes, keep time, contribute. They're totally superposed.
Another recipe for a bad meeting.
Exactly. So what if you appointed a manager who wasn't allowed to play, who just watched and facilitated while everyone else did the work? Could you separate your team's action from its reflection instead of shouting instructions while the kitchen catches fire?
It's a powerful idea. Stop the cooking, step back, talk, then cook again.
Something to chew on. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
A pleasure as always.
See you next time.